It appears that Universal Orlando is working with the one and only Intamin again for their next coaster project. And the good news is, it's not for Islands or Epic. This new project is for Universal Studios Florida, and there are 3 locations within the park that I think the new coaster could be built, including one that would see the removal of the park's Hollywood Rip Ride Rockit roller coaster. Then, after I share the 3 areas, I will then tell you just how large I think this coaster could be and why Universal could break some records with it, and then tell you why there's one model out there that I feel as if will be the best fit for Universal for this project. Then, like most of my videos, I share with you just how soon I think this coaster could open up. My name is Theme Park Brandon, and thank you for checking out this video. And according to Alicia over at Theme Park Stop, a notice of commencement was recently filed for work at Universal Studios Florida that shows roller coaster manufacturer Intamin as the contractor. Now the good news is that this is separate from the one previously filed for the maintenance building expansion that's happening at Hagrid's at Islands of Adventure. So some exciting things are happening at Universal Studios Florida, and I predicted in the past videos that once Epic is well on its way to opening, which it is now, that we would see money being dumped into Universal Studios Florida to really raise that park so it's on the same level as Islands of Adventure and even Epic Universe to a point. Is right now, let's be honest, I love USF for the special events, but outside of the Mummy, Diagon Alley, Transformers, and the nighttime show, the park could definitely use some much needed major attractions heading its way. And this could very well be the first sign of that, which is very, very exciting. Now let's go over some of these locations within Universal Studios Florida. And when you're looking at the aerial maps of this awesome park, the first place you're going to set eyes on would have to be the large area that is used for storage, as well as other backstage stuff for the parks that is located right in between Men in Black and the Simpsons ride. This plot of land, I made a few videos regarding what I think or what I would love to see Universal do with this plot of land, including the removal of the Simpsons attraction, which we already know that is definitely going to be happening soon as well. And in this video right here, I share with you just how cool would it be for a brand new Back to the Future coaster being built in this area right here. So definitely check that out, because that right there would be an intimate multi-launch coaster that would really bring the whole movie to life. And I don't know about you, but I definitely would love to see a new Back to the Future attraction come back to Universal Studios Florida sooner than later. But sadly, I'm only going to give this plot of land around a 15% chance of happening for this new coaster, just because I feel like there's 2 other areas where Universal could really benefit more from this style of ride. And really, let's be honest, this giant plot of land might be better off used for a whole new themed area that may or may not have a new coaster intertwining with it, heading across the lagoon for the Fast and Furious plot of land. And this ride might go down as one of the worst attractions at the park ever. It's not even open to my knowledge anymore. It's that bad. If it is open, it's not open very often. And they spent a ton of money on this. I would definitely like for them to keep the building and maybe have this coaster be an indoor-outdoor coaster. And I would not mind it being themed to Fast and Furious as well, because you already have the queue line in place. Why not keep all that, the pre-show maybe, but just have the coaster feature a few dark ride sections, but a lot of the track be located outdoors as well. A ride in this location would be a huge win for Universal Studios Florida, because it separates all the other coasters a little bit more. And if this coaster is going here, then we might be able to keep Hollywood Rip Ride Rockit around a little bit longer. With that being said, I do not feel like this is a strong possibility. Therefore, I'm only going to give it a 25% chance of happening, because I just feel like it's time for Hollywood Rip Ride Rockit to be closed forever. And I made videos in the past and I said no later than 2029. And it sounds like it's going to be much sooner than that, which is not a bad thing in my opinion. I'm not a huge fan of the ride. I love the way it looks and how it interacts with the park, and how they squeeze this ginormous coaster in between the sound stages and the rest of USF. But the trains really aren't that comfortable. There's too many block sections. So I think it is time to say goodbye to Hollywood Rip Ride Rockit. And I'm going to give this project a 60% chance that it is actually going to take place on the same plot of land as Hollywood Rip Ride Rockit. And why I'm so sure that Rockit is going to get removed? Well, think about it for a second. The Incredible Hulk, the B&M 7 inversion coaster over at Islands of Adventure, opened up in the year 2000. Then, in 2015, I believe, Universal announced that they were going to spend the money on replacing every piece of track for the new coaster. Basically, an all-new coaster for the Hulk, the same layout and everything else, due to the wear and tear that this coaster has had since it opened in 2000. Because again, this is Florida we're talking about. These coasters run pretty much every single day of the year, minus a few weeks for their annual maintenance. And what's crazy about Rockit is that it's always open during Hollywood Horror Nights, meaning this coaster operates from anywhere from 8 in the morning that day all the way until 2 or 3 in the morning, which is a huge window of operation for any coaster. So this ride, dealing with the Florida heat, the Florida weather, operating for at least 320 days or more a year, plus those longer days for Halloween Horror Nights, they're definitely going to either have to retract the coaster or remove it altogether. And I really feel like this is where this takes place at, and I feel like Universal will be making the announcement that Hollywood Rip Ride Rockit will be getting removed, and the last time to ride it could be as soon as this spring. It all depends on how fast they want to move with this project, and I feel like, again, with Epic as well as Islands already being in the top tier parks, that they want to accelerate this project as fast as they can. That is why I feel like 6 months from now, Rockit could already be starting to come down, and the new coaster 1 year from now could already be started with the vertical construction. Now, as for what type of coaster, I personally would love a giant hyper coaster from Intamin. I know a lot of us would love that, but there is still one other model out there that I feel like would benefit the park the most. But whatever type of coaster this project is for, I would think it's going to be more thrilling than non-thrilling. And we know that Universal Studios Florida does not offer any coaster that flips riders upside down. And with the ever so impressive coaster opening up at Universal Studios Hollywood, themed to the Fast and Furious, that does flip you upside down, I think we all really need to be intrigued as far as what type of coaster this is going to be. And yet again, Universal's working with Intamin. Now, how great would a giant Intamin vertical LSM coaster look in this plot of land? Because what's great about this is that Universal Studios Florida could reuse the Rockit station and essentially have the ride start out just like you did at Rockit, where you go at the vertical launch instead of the lift hill, then go over the top hat to start the rest of the ride. Something like this would look really great, obviously, because I think Rockit looks really great in this area. So I would love this ride to pay homage to Rockit in some way, because obviously it's going to be a lot smoother, more enjoyable, and do a little bit more for all of us. And it would not surprise me at all that this new coaster would basically take the same footprint as Rockit has, which is great because we're talking a coaster that's going to be over 4,000 feet long, maybe even longer. I'm really curious to see what Intamin could do with this layout and this plot of land, how many inversions, how much airtime. There's just a lot of cool things that I know Intamin could do with this. Now, what's really cool about this ride model and this plot of land is that there's really no telling on how big and how large they can make this coaster. Would it be the same height as Hollywood Rip Ride Rockit at 167 feet tall? Or are we looking at something taller? Which brings me to this. Could Universal Studios Florida actually break the record in Florida for the tallest coaster in the entire state? I mean, all we're talking about is 206 feet tall. Now, I do not know the height requirements that Universal Studios does have. They might have one, I don't know. If you do know, please let me know in the comments. But I would love to see this coaster be around 210 feet tall. So we get the hyper coaster, but we also get a coaster that's filled with inversions, airtime, some really cool transitions, interacting with the buildings, and in the same plot of land as Hollywood Rip Ride Rockit once stood. Now, as far as the timing, again, I kind of mentioned it earlier. I feel like this project is going to be expedited because they really need to get something major into Universal Studios Florida sooner than later. So I would say at this point in time, I think Rockit has maybe 3 or 4 more months of operation. They'll close it by spring, and then they're going to remove everything except the station by midsummer. Then I can see the new footers being poured and vertical construction starting around September or October of next year, which aligns us for a grand opening in May of 2026 for this massive new coaster. Hopefully massive. Now there's a ton of awesome coasters in Florida, and if you're wondering how they rank in terms of height, in the video at your bottom of your screen, I share with you the top 10 tallest roller coasters that you can find in the state of Florida. So definitely check that out. So what are your thoughts on this permit from Intamin? And what do you think about the future of USF? You know what to do, let me know in the comments. This is Theme Park Brandon. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to smile today, think positive, and keep riding coasters.